Hello, 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 and good evening, everyone. We still don't have LinkedIn comments coming up on our program, but we see you all over there, and we thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Absolutely.
It's kind of an interesting topic. There's been a lot of conversations around high yield savings accounts, specifically different types and different companies now coming out with their own version or offer for high yield savings account. And I think just in general, people are looking to secure their financial future and wanting to know what is the fastest way to build a retirement, grow their money. But we're more interested in generating retirement income, retiring early. And if that is what you're looking for, you're in the right place.
Absolutely. And it's interesting because I think a peek behind the curtain is really more around the issue of, yeah, inflation's high. So because inflation's high, we need to increase rates. And so therefore, we're going to call them high yield savings accounts. But in actually, we're just trying to keep up with inflation. That's number one. Number two is, are people really feeling secure about banks today? Like, I'd say there's a lot of insecurity around what's happening with banks. Banks folding. What was it, SVP Bank and all of that kind of stuff. And I think there's a fair amount of this that's also, hey, what kind of marketing strategy can we put together
Ooh,
so that
yeah.
people don't run away from us? Because if they run away from us, then that means more of us will close. So
Yeah.
again, I'm not saying there's something wrong with high yield savings account. I think it's awesome. We got one. I'm just saying let's also take a step back and look at some of the reasons why. That's all.
Yeah. Well, and here's some of the stuff that we've been seeing. So you see these videos all over TikTok, Instagram, they're all over the place. And I think that a lot of these companies also are sponsoring a lot of creators. And so therefore you're going to start seeing more of them. To your point though, why this is in their benefit to do this. Here's what really gets me. These have been around for a long time. So this
Right.
isn't anything that's new.
Not new. Right. I
Yeah.
agree.
And on top of that, I think that there's this boom of people going like, what? We can actually make money in our savings account now, where before money just really sat there, even though they assigned some sort of percentage. Who really was cheering about the pennies? Like nobody cares how much money you thought you were making. No, this wasn't available before. But now you're right, it makes sense. But let's see what's out there because this is one of the things that triggered us to be able to bring this up on our live stream and cover this topic. So you ready to jump in?
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay.
Save your money like this. Hey bank, here's my $50,000. How kind of you. In exchange for storing your money with us, we'll give you 0.24% interest. Now here's how you can earn interest over 5 times the national average. Hey Discover, I will want to deposit $50,000 to an online savings account. How kind of you. In exchange for saving your money with us, we give you a 3.30 annual percentage yield on your deposits. Nice. There has to be a catch, right? No catch. You get 24/7 customer service, open an account with any amount, and there's no account fees. Start saving with Discover today. Don't save your money like this. Hey bank, here's my $50,000. How kind of.
Well, first of all, that is not the highest interest rate you can get with a high yield savings account. And we're going to show you probably the highest that we've seen, which is with an Apple Card. And that's the example that we're going to use today because why not use the highest that we've seen, right?
Right.
Out anyway, that's what we've seen, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to show you the differences. Couple points though about this video. I think just what stands out to me. Do you want to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. One of the things is that it's hard to know how to trust people who are representing companies and brands these days because you don't understand or know if they're being compensated for doing so. That's just off the top. That does make it a little bit more difficult in the creator space and the influencer space to know, is this the best thing? He
Right.
said, what are the strings, right? What's the catch? There's no catch. There's always a catch. No one's giving you money for free. There's always a catch. So what's the catch to these videos not being regulated and misleading people? How about that? What's
Well,
the catch
you're
to this
screwing up
freaking
my
video?
Citibank sponsorship. You realize that, right?
What?
You're screwing up my Citibank sponsorship.
No, if we have to lie to people, it's not going to happen.
No, I agree.
You'll never see it on here, folks.
I
And
agree.
I think that that's kind of the point is that it is easy to jump out here and secure the bag. And I think that's what everybody's out for. And you see people doing it in ethical ways, you see people doing it in non-ethical ways. And that's just unfortunate that we live in a space where people feel forced to do that, because everyone knows you need money. You have to have money. And at some point, you're not going to be able to trade your time for money. And so you have to be able to build some sort of machine that's going to make its own money. You're going to have to start front loading or feeding into a savings, some sort of account, in order for you to have something when you're older. People have this reality, watching their parents, their grandparents, and seeing that at some point there's an end date, there is an expiration date, and that none of us are promised tomorrow. And so we better make sure that we're doing the best with what we have today. And therefore you have everybody out here just doing whatever they can to secure the bag. Now, this influencer situation, I think, makes it a little bit different, because some of these people are not financial advisors. They are just like you and me, and they're just out there trying to be smarter with their money and sharing their tips and tricks. I don't think that they're all bad. That's not what I'm trying to say. But I am saying that I do believe that companies like Discover would make it seem very attractive for influencers if they are paying, and they have the money to pay. Let's be honest, they are paying them to promote this service, especially with people wanting to move away from banks. As a marketer, I would say this is a smart move to help people, to get people over and say, hey, you've already got a credit card with us. Now you don't need the bank at all, because now you can also have a savings account. And so how does this kind of pair in and mesh with velocity banking and other strategies? I think they also are hip to that too. So it'd be interesting to see what's coming in the future. But the just for me, what the things that stand out is just the no catch part. I'm not with that. I do believe that everything has some sort of terms.
I go back to, why? Why all of a sudden are we seeing more and more of these? And I go back to, it's the panic in the market. It's, hey, we are trying to do everything we can to calm fears. Matter of fact, we will even give you more money.
Right.
And I think the piece that really irritates me is, I can't used to know the numbers on the national average around what people are receiving inside of their savings accounts. But the reason we are offered those rates is because they can, not because it's what we deserve, or, hey, the company has to make money too, so this is what we determine the way things should be. No, it should have always been 3 point whatever percent or 4 point whatever percent. Why wasn't it? And why all of a sudden is it now?
Yeah. And that's kind of the point. Even everything that we've talked about, these are strategies that people have been using for years, for decades. These are not new things. It's
Right.
just that there's been a whole lot of gatekeeping on who has access to, one, the information, and then two, the tools. And that is not okay. It's not okay, because if the whole goal is set up so that you're putting into a system so that you win in the end, and you're sold this dream that it's possible, then it better damn well be possible.
Amen.
Why isn't it? And why are we not
Amen.
demanding that it be, right?
Right.
So yeah, Robert Barry says always a catch. Always a catch. So I think that being able to read your terms, being able to understand what it is that you're even looking for. Some people don't know what to look for. A lot of us, when we first started, we had no idea. These entities, these financial institutions are set up. We're programmed to trust them. That's where money is safe, right? That's where you're safe. If you can get a bank if you can get a loan from a bank and the bank trusts you, that makes you feel good about yourself, because of how prestigious and how trustworthy and what it says about you that a bank would trust you, right?
Right.
Who
Even more
knew?
conditioning. Right.
Who knew that the whole time the bank is just playing you? Like, this is the amount of gaslighting that has been going on in the banking industry is enough to understand why we have mental health crisis, because these systems that were set up, we should believe that we're going to win, and then we learn not until far later that everything that we believed was a lie, and that's a problem,
And the key
especially
is,
when you
go ahead.
especially when you're at the age of retirement, or you have fallen ill or whatever it is, and you have put into these systems so that you can win. You have put into these systems so that you'll be okay. You've taken sacrifices to fund these systems, to learn that they have taken 2/3, as we've covered before, to learn that somebody else who was in charge was the one who was who they're riding off into the sunset, right? While you're sitting there asking for spoonfuls of water, and that's all that you can ration out to yourself. And that's essentially what happens to everyone. And so that's why it's important that we talk about the differences here. So you wanted to say something real quick?
It just simply, whether we're talking about life insurance companies, financial institutions like Fidelity and Vanguard, or banks, the thought process behind that is arming the people who are spending time with us with the tools to be able to use these institutions the way these institutions have historically used us.
Yeah.
That's the goal. The goal
Right.
is to simply lay out, because it's all by design, simply lay out how simple it is to do the exact same thing that a bank is doing to you. We're not cutting any corners. We're doing the exact same thing.
And it's just information. That's the whole point. We say get self-directed as in like join us, like contact us, like let's level up together. We grow farther and faster when we grow together. But getting the concept of getting self-directed is just that. You are directing yourself. You're able to make confident, educated decisions about what it is along your path. You can see opportunities as they come your way, and that you'll be able to say like, hey, wait, the math ain't mathing on this.
Right.
I need to ask some more questions, and knowing what questions to ask. That's all part of it. There's nothing that we are doing for you. It's arming you the authority back in your life to be able to make these decisions. You don't need a bank. You can become your own bank.
Right.
And have full control. On that note, though, I find this very interesting, this video that you found actually, and the language that they're using. And I thought it was creative because I think everyone learns different, and sometimes just repackaging things or repositioning things from a different perspective does help us learn in different ways, right? We're all learners in different ways. And wow, hold on one second.
Let's do it.
Stree says, anyone remember Bernie Madoff? They believed him with their whole life.
Literally.
Yeah. And he made off. And I think the
these
trust
double
that we
entendres.
have in
That's pretty dope. He made off. I caught it.
Yeah,
I caught it.
he made off. Well, that was what that was what Robert said too. He absolutely made off with people's money. Okay. On the note though, I think how we position information is important. We all learn differently. Some people have said that they really enjoy the visuals that we provide when we're explaining velocity banking because it does help them learn, and it's easier to learn with visuals. So we appreciate that feedback. Thank you so much for that. This particular thing, though, this is the third kind of the second thing that we're going to compare tonight. And it's what's being called a hybrid account. Hybrid account. Have you guys ever heard of it? With insurance, yeah. Has anybody heard of that? I'm kind of looking in the comments over here. I've got LinkedIn, got YouTube, Facebook. If you've heard of a hybrid account, just put it in there. But we're going to play this video so that you can see what we saw. We saw what we saw. That way you can see what's out here and how it's being represented. So if you catch on, put the answer just in the comments so we know who's watching and kind of where you guys are with your, I guess, awareness of these particular vehicles. All right, you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
You have $100,000 sitting in the bank, it's doing nothing. Well, I can go and open up a hybrid account with an insurance company. The money that's in the account is growing based on the performance of the S&P 500, whatever the S&P 500 does under two conditions. Number one, I got a minimum interest rate of 2. So no matter what, I make 2% guaranteed, worst case scenario. I have a cap of 9. So what that means is that if the S&P 500 goes up 11, I make 9. If it does negative 20, I make 2. So you always make between 2 and 9. Is that not better than the bank? Here's the cool part. I can leave my $100,000 in my account and the company gives me a line of credit against my account. That means I got my 100 grand growing. That doesn't stop. The company comes in, gives me 50,000. I can go now buy my car, buy a property, do whatever I want with it. I have my 100 grand are still growing, and I just got a 50,000 line of credit that I went and bought my car. You have $100,000 sitting in the bank, it's doing nothing.
All right,
I can go
talk
and
to us
open up a
about it
hybrid
now.
account with it.
So, first off, it's a pretty awesome product.
Hold on. Sheree says he's wearing the suit. The suit makes it legit.
You know,
I
we
told
had that,
you,
we
man,
had
those
that discussion.
suits.
Those suits matter.
Yeah.
Suits matter.
And the
Appearance
gel?
matters.
And
Absolutely.
the gel.
Appearance
Yeah.
matters. But I think the thing is, you know, comparing this to the first video we watched, at the end of it all, currently our money is sitting in a place where we're not feeling very secure about it. So here's an opportunity. This hybrid account, this savings plus insurance, or savings with insurance, whatever that is, that will allow you to have your money in a more secure place, grow with with these guardrails, meaning you can't lose if the S&P 500 does something less than 2%, you hold. If the S&P 500 does something more than that, okay, you don't make more than that, but you have this growth, this, I don't want to call it guaranteed because they cannot guarantee, but you have this consistent growth that allows you to still achieve your goal over a certain period of time. And in addition, you get to leverage the money that you have to be able to go do other things. Man, this sounds familiar. I mean, it almost sounds like a index universal life insurance policy with a few other features. Or is it an index universal life insurance policy that's identifying itself as a savings hybrid account? Like, I mean, what is it?
Yeah, it's definitely an IUL. There's no way around it. There's like if the Scooby-Doo
Right.
came off, it would be, what is it? But you know what I do appreciate? I do appreciate that being able to describe it, because some of these vehicles are more difficult for people to get their head wrapped around. Like,
Right.
what is it? How does
Right.
it work? And this part, like getting creative in how to explain something, I use analogies all the time. And so to me, I feel like this just is another analogy in a sense.
Absolutely.
And that people understand what hybrid means. I mean, that's household, phrase. So being able to apply that to the financial space, I feel like was a good move. The only problem that I have with seeing something like that, and this is with anything, this has nothing to do with this particular person or this particular product. It's the terms, right? It's that on the front, it seems like this is amazing, but if you cannot go immediately to go find out all of the terms and understand what the risk is, what the pros are, what it is that you could do wrong, what it is, how you could make it better, but how you could make it worse, and what those penalties might be to you or the impact that it might be to you, that's the problem. Because then somebody else goes, oh yeah, I can make you one of those. And they can't, and you don't know what to look for when you find out. And that's a lot of the calls that you get, is learning when people call you and they go, well, look what I have. And you go, ooh, that is not what you think it is. And that's when they learn that what they bought and what they were sold are two different things.
Right. And I think, again, there's a lot of these out there. Like if you just strip away the name IUL, you've got the FIRE method, you've got a LERP, you've got this hybrid account. Like there's so many out there, and it's very difficult to weed through, which ones are effective and which ones aren't. And the truth is, the efficiency comes from who's kind of structuring it for you. So just because I'm standing in front of you talking about some type of hybrid IUL or MPI or anything else, it's really about that structure. And that's why we focus so heavily on education, because the more you know about these products, it doesn't matter the name, Kaizen, it doesn't matter what name is thrown at you. What you realize is the product is the product. How you structure the product is how you structure the product, and how you get the most efficient income out of the product is purely based off that structure. So it doesn't matter what you call it. Is it structured this way? Is it max funded? Is it option B? If it's structured this way, then that tells me at least it's designed so that it's producing the most amount of income possible for me. And then, are there any other features that would allow me to exponentially grow my money faster? And I don't care what the name of it is. Talk to me about the details. And hopefully, what people can gather when they are on a live with us is we will at least arming you with the tools to be able to go have these discussions when these different products are thrown your way.
And where people are making decisions from too, I think matters, because a lot of the times they go, well, what do I feel like is the best option for me, without being able to see the differences so that they can truly say, like, if I would have known that, I probably would have made a different decision. For instance, knowing the difference in how the money grows inside of an account might make a difference in the outcome. So if you just look at a 10, 12, 20-year period and what your money would do, I think anybody would say, if my money is going to be double that, if my money is going to be triple that, I would have chose that. But you cannot go backwards and go back 10 years and then make a different decision. So knowing upfront what you're doing and the decision that you're making, where you're making that decision from, matters. I say this because sometimes we make decisions that feel safe based on the information that we have currently. We all do that with everything, right?
And that's a part of that conditioning too.
Yeah, it's just human nature to make the best decision that you know how to make with the information that you have. And so once we're far enough down the road, though, sometimes we learn, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, but now I'm already down this road and it's difficult for me to make a decision because I'm already this deep in, right? And so what I would hope is that, some of the examples that we've seen, we've done some things. We've said some things that are uncomfortable. We've suggested moves that don't feel very good. But the outcome is hopefully what you see is the difference in the outcome of sometimes you have to right the ship, right? We got to head in a different direction and we have to get this back on course. So tonight we're going to show the difference in all three of these vehicles: a high yield savings account,
and IUL, who identifies itself as a hybrid account.
Yep.
And MPI.
And a
How does
Scia.
it match up against a Scia, a secure compound interest account?
Yep.
You said something I think really important though, and I have this conversation a lot because a lot of times people come to me and are almost ashamed to share with me the products that they have. I'm sharing with you this secure compound interest account that can produce 2 to 3 times that of a traditional retirement account. And I run into people who are hesitant to say, "Ooh, I have a whole life policy. Is it something similar to that?" And what I try to educate people on is this: most of the decisions we made around the products that we have today were made from a place where we didn't know what we didn't know.
Right.
So when we got that whole life policy, or when we got that life insurance policy to begin with, 9 times out of 10, we bought the life insurance product for the life insurance. No one told us, hey, you should structure that life insurance product so that you can produce income at a future date. No one said that. They just said, hey, here's life insurance, and now your family's taken care of. And if anything happened to you, you don't have to worry about it. That was the reason why you purchased it. And there was nothing wrong with that. But now that you know something different, now what can we do with that product that you have to turn it into something a bit more efficient? In some cases we can, but in some cases, because it wasn't structured properly, we can't. And it just kind of is what it is.
And if you want to hear some horror stories on that note, we do have a video out. It's got a blue cover. It says something about insurance on there. I don't know. I can't see it right now, but we do have a video that will shock you. It took me 3 days to edit this video because this story pissed me off so much that I was fuming learning about this story. And it's unfortunate, but had this person not reached out because they felt like, I don't want someone else to know that I'm in this situation, there was no way of helping her out of it. So don't feel discouraged for calling in. Don't feel discouraged for writing into us. We've probably had, 10 people just today write into us, whether it's email, text, filling out the form with their particular story. That doesn't include people who are getting the free resources and whatnot, but just to share their story with us. And it really warms our heart, guys, to hear all of these stories and to see people who are at work texting and emailing us like, I am looking for a solution. Can you please help me? Yes, yes, we can. And we would love to.
Yeah,
So if
happy
that's
to do
you
it.
and you are hesitant and you need help and you just want to see like, I can't see the forest through the trees, we help you get that bird's eye view. And that's something that we're doing as kind of a series right now on our live stream to be able to help other people. So it's not like a service that we provide. It's just something that we said, hey, if we're going to help people and we're going to be coming up with these examples to teach this stuff, then we might as well be helping the people who are watching, right? So that's why we're doing it. So I hope that answers the question, because we've been getting that a lot in the comments of like, how much is it? It's free. You just got to jump in. I guess like while it's free, right? We get too many people and then all of a sudden we won't have the time. But for right now is the time to jump in. So you want to just jump into the
Yeah,
comparison?
let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay.
It's Emma time.
Sounds good. Let's see. What do we want to? We want to do half you and half the vibe board. All right, I got it.
All right, yeah, looks pretty good. So yeah, just to kind of set the stage for this example, and again, this was kind of taken from the videos that we watched. So Emma is looking for a place to put her $50,000. And I think there's a lot of us in the same position. A lot of us have more money sitting in savings than we probably should. I probably met with 3 or 4 clients over the last 3 weeks that shocked me when I learned that they have a fair amount of money sitting at home. Like, it just, I understand the hesitancy around banks and what's happening, but I've just been blown away at the amount of, I'll call it liquid cash, just sitting around, not doing anything. And so Emma's got this, she's 32 years old, got this $50,000 sitting in the bank and is wondering what to do. And she just watched those same 2 videos we just watched, right? There's this high yield savings account opportunity that will allow her to be able to achieve more than she's currently making. Then there's this hybrid in savings slash insurance account that will allow her to also make even more money on top of that. And then there's other products out there like a secure compound interest account. So the objective is to kind of identify what we should do with this $50 and what would it look like if we moved it into one of or all 3 of those vehicles. So
Yeah, Emma's like, what the heck do I do? There's way
and
too much information out here.
I'm going to spend far too much time on this visual right here, but I would just want to pause for a minute. And I think you kind of highlighted it. We go through a lot of examples on these lives and they're intentional. And most of them are examples that either I've talked through with the client or I ran across something and I want to talk through it. And what my wife does an amazing job of is she provides visuals to match what it is we're talking about. So I'll sit down and explain to her, here's what I'm thinking. And then she will magically come up with these visuals so that they make sense. And when I saw this slide, I didn't know I was going to see this slide. When I saw this slide, Emma looks extremely angry. And what I was wondering was, what is she actually angry about? And okay, this isn't enough, meaning she's got this $50,000 sitting in this account and it's not growing. And she's upset. And it dawned on me, I don't think enough of us feel this way about the money that's sitting in our checking and our savings account. And I think we should. And it caused me to kind of fall down a rabbit hole. And the
Ooh.
rabbit hole that I fell down was, okay, I haven't looked in a long time. I wonder what my savings account is actually bringing in interest, because Emma looks pretty upset that she's not making much money inside of hers. And it started me down the path of, I wonder how much is actually growing inside of my own, because I honestly don't know. Now, we intentionally don't keep a lot of money in our savings account. I think the Navy Federal has like $25 in it. And the Bank of America has about maybe $200 in it. And that's mainly because all of the rewards dollars ends up filling up that account. So there's not a lot of money in it because we know it's not making us much money. But I was just curious, as if you would have asked me what the interest rate is, I don't know. So as I started down this path, what I learned was they don't make it easy to actually find what the interest rate is. It took me quite some time. I had to end up going to an actual statement, and buried into the fine print was that actual interest rate. And I want to share. So in our BFA account, in B of A, we're making right around 0.02% in savings.
Woohoo!
And in Navy Federal, it's about 0.49%.
Oh, that's generous. Look at that.
I mean, it's much better than 0.02. And so if I'm Emma, if Emma's again, if you look at Emma's face, Emma has to have something similar going on in her own account, right? And if you look at $50,000 sitting in a savings account making 0.02%, the question you ask yourself, and this is a question that I pose to a lot of my clients, how long do you think it would take for that $50,000 to double just one time sitting in that savings account? Whether it's making 0.02% or 0.49%. So here's my challenge to those watching, whether you're watching live or you're watching on replay. My challenge to you is this: while I'm talking right now, pull up your online account. And if you've updated to the latest iOS or whatever type of phone you have, the video will still keep playing while you pull this up. Pull up your online account right now. Go to your savings account and find out how much you're making inside of savings. It might shock you. And then do this math. It's called the rule of 72. You want to find out how much the money that's currently sitting in your savings account, how long it will take for that money to double just one time. So let me show you what I mean.
Let's go. I just like that sound.
I know you do. And again, it's called the rule of 72. And what you do is you take the interest that you're making inside whatever that account is. So in this case, inside of the Bank of America, that 0.02, and you divide 72 by that 0.02. And I've already done this math because again, it's something that I needed to know. If I had $50,000 sitting in savings, making 0.02%, how long would it take for that money to double just one time? And that math equates to 3,600 years.
Ooh.
It would take 3,600 years for that $50,000 to double just once. And for the 0.49 amount, that amount ended up being, I think it ended up being 147 years. So regardless, that money sitting in that account for Emma, it's going to take quite a long amount of time for that money to just double one time. So the fact that she's looking at a high yield savings account or the fact that she's looking at some hybrid account makes sense. And my point is this: we should all be upset about it. We should all be pissed about it. And you know, I like that. I've been with B of A since I graduated high school. So since age 17, I've been with B of A. So what is that? 33 years. I have every product Bank of America offers. They know me by first name. And my savings account makes me 0.02%. Like it's blasphemous. But again, that's also why I don't keep much in it. So
Yeah.
my point is we should all feel this way.
But most people, when you ask them, like, how is your savings growing? The factor that they're looking at is how much am I putting in there to grow it?
Right, right.
Like, is your money growing? And they're going like, gosh, well, I got to save more to get money growing. And that's really the only options, because there's not a lot of people talking about how to truly grow your money. This stuff should be taught in school. And I'm talking like middle school, they should be learning this. They should be learning budgeting. They should be learning how money works and how to grow money, because it should be that while you're in school, while you're learning, it shouldn't be that you're preparing to go get in debt, to dig a hole, to then crawl out of, and hopefully you make it. Good luck out there. Like you guys got this. You're going to do it. We believe in you. You can make it against all odds, like this obstacle course that you're building yourself, essentially, right?
Well, and I know this isn't what you mean, but it actually is being taught more and more in schools now. Matter of fact, there's a Dave Ramsey course being taught in high school in about 14, it's either 14 or 17 states. So Dave Ramsey has his foot on the necks of these high school students, educating them on how to not leverage debt, how to do baby steps, get out of debt, but not showing them how to use that debt to do anything else. So this is being taught in schools in some way, shape, or form, but I'm confident that's not what you meant.
No, because Dave Ramsey's being sued right now. Like there's millions and millions of dollars in a lawsuit right now.
OMG.
Because again, this is the like don't have debt, don't use credit, don't do anything. And then they were like, okay, Dave, we're willing to do it. We'll trust you. And then they got to the end and they were like, well, wait, what about that retirement income? And he was like, oh, well, that wasn't a part of it. You're debt free. And they're like, yeah, but
Right.
what about the income that we're supposed to be having now that we can't work?
Roth IRA.
We need to retire.
Roth IRA.
And he was like, well, you didn't win. You didn't win. Spin the wheel and see if you win. And you didn't. So sorry for you. Sucks for you. So that's Dave Ramsey. Shree says she teaches young men, teens, in JDC about finance, budgeting, income, and expenses.
I love it.
I love it too.
I am going to give my small plug for Dave, because here's what I do appreciate. There's a piece missing in our culture around how to handle debt. So becoming more disciplined on how to use and how to eliminate debt and not start drowning in credit card debt. I think there's a lot to be said around those baby steps. But just as babies do, once they start walking, then they learn to run. What are those vehicles that are going to now help you run once you have learned those baby steps from a Dave Ramsey perspective? And that's my problem with the whole process. I think it's almost designed to keep sheep.
Yeah.
Like the more they keep us walking as babies, the less we get to peek behind the curtain and see what's actually happening and what the wizard is actually doing. So that's more my concern. It's more what happens after that. Please give me the tools to teach me how to become debt free. That's awesome. But then also provide me the tools to help me understand, what do I do with all this cash flow once I create it? And what are those vehicles I put this cash flow in so that I can start to generate actual income? Oh, and also, I don't want to have to be dependent on when someone else is going to tell me how old I need to be before I can access that income. I want the flexibility and the control over these vehicles to be able to access the income when I want to. That way I get to decide when I retire. That way I get to decide, what those moments in my life would be. And I think that's the part. And I think that's why these three vehicles, this high yield savings account, this hybrid IUL, and a secure compound interest account are important, because there's so much noise out there. It's how do you distinguish between what's actually a viable solution?
Yeah, exactly. So how can Emma build wealth? How she's out here in these financial advice streets. She's hearing all this advice and she wants to know, like, what's up with this, with all these options.
Right. And the goal is to, I think the short goal is to not lose money, right? I don't want to be impacted by market risk if possible. And then that exponential growth. It's about compound interest. It's about your money making money, and the money that your money makes more money. So how do we grow that money exponentially? And then control. And again, I will preach this until I am no longer physically here. It is about control, having control over your money, because as of today, who controls it? And then the last piece is I'm going to put this not being ripped off item in the bucket of also security, meaning I want to sleep well at night knowing my money's doing its job. I don't want to be concerned with the vehicle that it's in or the person that has it. So I don't want to feel like that I have to look over my shoulder every 15 minutes to see how much I have in my account to see if Bernie has made off with it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so to kind of just jump right in, like, what does it look like if we take this $50,000 and dump it into a high yield savings account? Well, there's a lot of these running around here. And I'd assume that a lot of you have seen visuals like this, where Apple has now jumped into the savings market. And actually they're trying to do what Starbucks has been doing for several years, is create a vehicle where you give them your money. They're going to allow you to make money off that money that you give them, but then they're going to turn around and loan that money right back to you. So there's a ploy and a plot here, but a high yield savings account bringing you 4.15% interest is pretty significant. And if you compare that to the Bank of America of 0.02 that we currently have, There's nothing shabby about 4.15%. And so what we decided to do is, okay, Emma's 32. She has this $50,000 that she wants to put away. What if she added $500 a month with that? So $500 a month, $50,000 lump sum one time. How much income would be produced over that from 32, let's call it, to 52 for 20 years? If she was able to take that 50,000 and that $500 a month and allow that to compound for the next 50 years inside of a high yield savings account like this, what would that look like? Well, at 4.15%, she'd have a pretty nice nest egg of around 297,000, which I think is pretty awesome compared to, again, if it was just happened to be sitting in a savings account doing nothing. But we did talk about Emma wanting income. So what does that look like? How does she accomplish income using a high yield savings account that's making her 4.15%? Well, a savings account isn't a retirement vehicle. So she would have to develop her own approach to be able to get money out of it, meaning she has a choice. She can empty that account tomorrow if she wanted to because she has control over it. Or she could apply the 4% rule. And the 4% rule is what most retirement vehicles or retirement institutions, the rule that they apply when it comes to distributing income inside of a retirement vehicle. So if you're going to treat this high yield savings account like a retirement vehicle, then you would want to apply the same 4% rule, which
Right.
means based off the nest egg that you have, based off this 297,000 that you have, how much income would that achieve starting at age 52? Well, 4% of 297,000 is $11,800 in annual, keyword, taxable income. This money that you placed into this savings account, you've already paid taxes on that, but the growth inside of that account, any of the interest growing inside of that account is going to be a taxable event. So even though you're able to take 11.8 in income, you will still have to pay taxes on that 11.8. With your money sitting in a high yield savings account for 20 years, is 11.8 enough? Are we happy with that? It is definitely much better than a traditional savings account, but I still wouldn't call $11,000 a year in taxable income as effective. But what is it they're not telling you? While this 4.15% is excellent compared to, again, everything that it's going up against, what is it that they're not telling you? Nowhere in that advertisement for that Apple account do they talk about the growth on that account being taxable. In addition, on this channel, we talk a lot about you getting multiple uses out of the same dollar. I love using OPM, other people's money, because when you're using other people's money, 9 times out of 10, you're using it in a non-taxable fashion. So using other people's money to grow your wealth is how most millionaires have made their money over in this country. So when you're talking about a high yield savings account, you're getting a single use out of a dollar. So even though it's 10 times the national average is what's growing inside of it, the truth behind that is the dollar amount is taxable. You're getting single use out of a dollar. There's not really enough to produce income. You allow this $50,000 plus $500 a month to compound for the next 20 years. We're talking about $11,000 in taxable income. And then the money can't be leveraged. Well, it can, but leveraging that money won't allow you to do anything with it. Meaning you can't borrow against it, because you can either withdraw, you can contribute to it, and you can take withdrawals from it. But when you withdraw from it, if the money that you're using costs more than the money's making, then what's happening is you're depleting that amount that you're using, which is also, I go back to that 4% rule. You're making 4.15% in it, and you're taking a 4% distribution. So you're just taking enough to allow that account to not be depleted. If there's one hiccup in the market, if inflation rises, or if there's any challenges associated with the market, you're now eating into that high yield savings account unless that interest that you're growing increases with inflation. And then the last one, no death benefit. Ultimately meaning this is a savings account and there's no other features or vehicles. This is not an asset you're purchasing. This is an account that you're purchasing. And because you're purchasing an account, there's no other aspects associated with it that allows you to achieve or receive any other benefit. So there's definitely no benefit associated with having a savings account. You about to say something?
Yeah, you can't leverage it. And that's the other piece to this, is that this is no different than putting your putting your money in a vault and not being able to touch it. So
Putting your money in a shoebox and putting it in that closet on the top shelf.
well,
No different.
regardless, putting it somewhere where you can't touch it. So if you needed to leverage money now, in you're less likely to go and leverage the money that's sitting in this high yield savings account or any kind of a bank account, really, because you touch it, it's
Gone.
the growth is limited now. So you're
Right.
reducing the what that impact could have, or what that opportunity is for you when you leverage it, because it doesn't continue to grow.
And it's that
The
single use.
Yeah, the problem with this though is that you end up, if you need to buy a house, what do you do? If you need to buy a new car, what do you do? The bank lends you your money back to you at a higher rate. Let's just say it's the same rate, right? The bank just lends you your money back. So are you really earning any of this, if that's what the cycle is? And I think that's the part that a lot of people go, well, but don't touch that money because it's growing, but I'm also going to leverage these other products over here from the bank, and the bank has also lent my money out infinite amount of times to other people while it's sitting there making 4%, while it's sitting there, and I can't leverage it, which means my opportunities are reduced, which means what I'm able to do with my own machine that I'm trying to build. You wanted to level up on a house, if you wanted to move, if you needed a medical expense, like emergency, whatever those things are, you're not able to leverage it. So therefore, your decisions are impacted as well. So I just wanted to throw that in. I don't want to hold it up. Carry on.
Oh, good. But what if though, to transition, what if you could place that $50,000 plus $500 a month into a vehicle that you could leverage? Because there's a
Yeah.
lot of those out there as well.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, tell us about a hybrid account,
right.
Donnell.
And again, what I love about this is that video was so random to me because I hadn't heard of a savings account hybrid or merged with an insurance company. But when you peel back those details, all we're talking about is an IUL. Is that a question?
Yeah, we have a question. Is there a way to bypass it? I think this is from Scia over on LinkedIn. I think what she says, or you have to pay the penalties. I don't know if you mean for a high yield savings account, or if you're talking about a 401k, IRA, or traditional retirement plan. So if you don't mind clarifying that, I think that would better help with an answer.
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer, but like I said, I'd need some clarity around that question. So I'll jump in, and again, just please let me know if we do have a question, and I'll be happy to go ahead.
We do have a couple other ones. Peace Be Free is watching tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. I have a BOA and high yield and a Roth IRA.
That's
The
awesome.
question is, I think it's, what can you do to max out my money? And I think you're going to learn that in just a moment. So I just wanted to say, we are seeing your comments over here. If you're on YouTube, it's the best way to join us on live, because we can see your comments. But we are everywhere watching and monitoring the comment section just to make sure that we don't miss anything. So feel free to put them in there. We'll see them and we'll address them. Okay.
So jumping into that hybrid IUL, again, and what is it about the hybrid IUL that makes it so much different than, I call it, that high yield savings account? Well, it starts with, an IUL is a life insurance product. It's a life insurance product designed to produce income. And there's no stipulation around age or the amount of years you have with a job before you can access those funds. So I think one of the questions was around what makes this, how do you maximize a Roth IRA even? There are stipulations associated with Roth IRAs that won't allow you to max them out, meaning based off your age and income, there's only a certain amount that you can put in them to begin with. Whereas a product like this, an IUL, whether it's a hybrid or not, a product like an IUL, again, as long as it's structured properly, meaning it's max funded option B, max funded meaning you're purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible so that you're spending the least amount, it's the least amount of expense to you, spending the least amount on that insurance. So therefore, you have more of your money that's compounding, building cash value for you. And it's option B, meaning the death benefit is increasing as you contribute to it. And as that cash value increases, it becomes income that you can use. So as long as it's structured properly, these products are pretty efficient. So putting that same $50,000 inside of this hybrid account, and I want to highlight this 2% to 9%, I'll call it these bookends, meaning what this is saying is, and just kind of restating what was already stated, if the growth inside of this product is based off the S&P 500 index, if that index goes below 2%, like if it hits zero, you don't get zero. The lowest your growth can actually go is 2%, which is awesome. But if the S&P 500 for whatever reason hits 35%, the max growth that you could have is 9. So it's the art of not losing, and it's kind of booked in between 2 and 9%. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think this is actually a pretty powerful product. The issue is still, though, how much income does it produce? So notice $50,000 one time plus $500 a month produces a nest egg, a cash value amount over that 20-year period of $409,000. Compared to the high yield savings account, what is that? An additional $200,000 just about?
Yeah.
So I would say this high yield savings account is doing pretty well. And again, structure, and I will beat this till the cows come home. Structure matters. Who you get this product from, who provides this product, what mutual life insurance companies you with, how much your life insurance provider is being paid off of your contributions to, all of that matters. Structure matters. But again, putting in that $50,000 over that, and that $50,000 plus that $500 a month would produce for you about $409,000 over that 20-year period by age 52. How much income is that? That equates to an income of about $46,000 tax-free for life. So that's $46,000 tax-free versus the high yield savings account where you will end up paying taxes on the growth. But because of how you leverage income inside of an IUL, that income is tax-free, which again, is pretty awesome. But what is it they didn't say?
Well, hold on. You said, oh, go ahead.
But what is it they didn't say? We talk, an IUL is pretty awesome at, I'll call it, again, it has to be structured properly, but it does a pretty decent job of building income faster than what's actually happening inside of a high yield savings account. But what is it that they didn't talk about? Well, in order to have a life insurance product designed to produce income, you do have to qualify for it. Just because you want an IUL doesn't mean you get an IUL. You do have to be healthy because we are buying life insurance. So the life insurance company is going to assess whether or not you are a viable candidate. And I'd say of the clients that I have, 98, 99, maybe 98.5% of the clients that I talk to all qualify. And just because you have maybe a health condition doesn't mean you don't qualify. But the key is you do have to qualify. And this is not, I say it all the time, compound interest is not sexy. An account like this takes time. If you are a short-term investor, this is not the product for you. But if you're looking to, similar to what Emma's doing, putting away that $50,000 in a lump sum and allowing that $500 to compound over the next 20 years, she's in it for the long haul. She's committed to allowing this product to build. It can do some amazing things, but you do have to commit. Again, this is not Bitcoin. There's nothing short-term about it. And then fees. Fees are directly related to structure. Who provides these products and where you get them from matters. And whoever you're getting these products from should be very transparent as to what those fees look like. Because the fee structure inside of all cash value life insurance products, whole life, variable life, universal life, index universal life, the fees inside of all cash value life insurance products are the same. The question is whether or not the company that you're with is transparent about what those fees are. And so being very clear and upfront as to how this policy works and what that structure looks like is very important. And the last piece is no relock. An IUL does not have the ability to leverage money inside of it to continue to grow it exponentially. So relock, what do I even mean? What is a relock? Relock stands for retirement equity line of credit. Relock. It's actually a completely made up word, but it's a very effective word because I think it speaks specifically to the power of what leverage can do inside of a policy. Meaning, with the relock, you're able to add an additional dollar amount in addition to what you're already contributing and build an arbitrage situation off that. Meaning there's a cost to borrowing this money, but the growth on this money pays for that cost to borrow and you get to keep what's left. That arbitrage is yours and allows you to grow your money exponentially. This hybrid account and other IULs do not have the capability of the relock. And so I think those are the pieces that you want to pay attention to when you're looking at products like this. Did you have a question?
No, I think we just had some comments that Ken Denner is over on LinkedIn. Hey, Ken, glad you're joining us. Donnell is cranking out such delectable nuggets of information, knowledge, inspiration, encouragement, guidance, and motivation.
I never
Love
consider
Ken's
myself a
comments.
motivational guy, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, we
So-
love Ken's comments.
So again, this is a hybrid IUL is what they're referencing here. But at the end of the day, when you peel all the layers back, when you Scooby-Doo it and you pull the mask off, in essence, it's an IUL that's identifying itself as some other hybrid product. But at the end of the day, it's just an IUL. So what is that other product though? So if it's not a high yield savings account and it's not an IUL, then what is it? How about a secure compound interest account? And a secure compound interest account, there are many different types, but the one that I'm specifically referencing is a secure compound interest account in the form of a maximum premium indexing strategy, also known as premium financing. In essence, what I'm talking about here is a product that is based on the foundation of an IUL with a few more features. It's based on the foundation of an IUL, but you're adding leverage. You're adding additional, I'll call it leverage to pull inside of this product to exponentially grow your money. And this secure compound interest account has or includes, again, that piece that I was referencing, the relock. So when you place that $50,000 lump sum inside of a secure compound interest account in the form of MPI, along with that $500 a month, its guardrails are from 0 to 10%. And again, it uses the same indexing strategy as the product before, but if the market crashes, the most you can lose in that, well, you can't lose. The most that will happen inside of your secure compound interest account is it won't go below 0%. So if the market, for whatever reason, loses 24%, you just hold. You don't make money, but you also don't lose money. And then the growth in the hybrid account, it was 9%, but in this case, it's 10. So if the S&P 500 does somewhere around 24% on the positive end, then the growth inside of your policy is 10. So I would say here, these are very, very similar tools as it relates to the growth on its, I'll call it on the surface, on the initial contributions of the $500 plus 50,000. But something special happens inside of an MPI strategy at year 3. At year 3, leverage is added. And it's because of that leverage that allows the growth inside of this policy to look more like $625,000 over that same 20-year period. So I think it was 400 and something thousand inside of the hybrid account. It's 625,000 inside of a secure compound interest account like MPI. And I'll get into a few more of those details, but I think you can automatically see that 625,000 will translate into far more income. That $625,000 inside of a secure compound interest account looks more like $72,000 a year in tax-free income versus that 42,000 or 49,000, whatever that amount was. Again, same dollar amount, same time, but because this vehicle has additional leverage, additional levers that you can pull at the same age, it's producing almost double the amount of income.
That's crazy.
But again, what didn't I tell you?
Yeah.
I talked about all the great stuff. What are I'll call it
What's the catch?
Adverse issues, or the catch as it relates to a secure compound interest account like MPI? Well, again, it's built on the foundation of an IUL. So the same rules apply with that hybrid account apply over here with a secure compound interest account like MPI. You have to be approved. Just because you want an MPI plan does not mean you get one. So you do have to be healthy, but that is not as difficult as it sounds. It is not as big of a challenge as you might think. But you also have to look at it from the life insurance company's perspective. You're buying a life insurance policy. Before a life insurance company is going to insure you, shouldn't you be healthy? So there's not a huge ask here. It's just that you do have to be approved. And the other piece is it's the same commitment. You have to give your money time. When you put this $50,000 in and this $500 a month in year one, it's not going to look great. Matter of fact, that high yield savings account might actually look better. But as you grow, as you give your money time inside this vehicle, as the relock feature kicks in, there is nothing that can compare to it because of the simple point. It's uninterrupted, secure compound interest. And it's the uninterrupted piece that makes this special. When you uninterrupt compound interest, you have the ability to for your money to double faster. So that rule of 72, those compound cycles get smaller. And then the last piece is, this is a product. You're buying an asset. This is not a savings account. Now, it can be used as a savings account, but you are literally buying an asset. What are you buying? You're buying life insurance. You're buying life insurance that is properly structured. And because that life insurance is properly structured, you now have the ability to leverage the growth inside of that life insurance product to be able to use for other things. You can use it for income. You can use it to do infinite banking. You can use it to do velocity banking. There are many different things you can leverage the money inside of this product to do, again, as long as it's structured properly. But you are absolutely buying an asset and not, just some, again, high yield savings account. This is far more than that.
All right. No questions so far.
So what I want to do is just highlight the differences. You've seen this before in many forms, but I want to highlight the differences between an IUL and a secure compound interest account like MPI. Again, if we were talking, and I'm going to take the $5,000 out of it. I'm $5,000. I'm going to take the $50,000 out of it. Do I hear a question?
Yeah.
What's up?
We do. So before we move forward, I just want to make sure we address questions as they go. So
I'm with you.
Eric Velasquez asks, is there an MPI product that works like a first position HELOC, in that you can leverage it like a checking account?
So I'm going to kind of restructure that question because there's a lot in it. MPI, a secure compound interest account, whether it's MPI or not, a secure compound interest account can absolutely be used as a checking account, as a savings account. Your money can absolutely be leveraged and used the same way. Now, how you use it matters. But the point that I want to make sure is clear is I don't care about the time. If you have cash value in your account, you can use that cash value for whatever you want. No different than the same way you use the cash that's sitting in your savings account. So you can absolutely use that however you would like. So whether if you want to use it to purchase a home or whatever the case may be, a home equity line of credit though, that home equity line of credit, the difference between a product like this and that home equity line of credit is the cost to borrow, the cost to leverage. The cost to leverage is different and the impact is different. The asset that you're buying from an MPI perspective is it's a life insurance product. Obviously, the asset that you're buying as it relates to a home equity line of credit is the home. So That's where the whole idea behind the relock feature comes into play. The retirement equity line of credit is the equity that you've created inside of this life insurance product, and we're leveraging that equity inside of that life insurance product to be able to exponentially grow. So in that fashion, it's actually very similar to a home equity line of credit. So I don't know if I confused you or answered the question, but there was a lot in that statement, if that makes sense.
And I think that's why strategy matters, because I think understanding, hold on, I'll come back on. I think understanding how to utilize the leverage that you do have matters significantly, because this could mean this is the difference in like 10xing your machine essentially. What you had created was a machine that feeds itself. So being able, just knowing how they function and how they work, I think he's smart to know what a first position HELOC is. First and foremost, most people don't know what it is. Most people would run from one when they should really be running to them and learning more about them.
Right.
So I think that that's dope. If you understand the concept, the power and utilizing tools like that, then even just having the base foundation of like velocity banking, and then taking that like core the concept of that, and then supercharging it with infinite banking and all of these tools that can kind of supercharge those strategies, then it's kind of game over, because at that point now you're just looking for assets and tools. That's it. And you're just pairing them together to not just be able to use the same dollar multiple times, to be able to have that money make its own money, and the money that money makes its own money. And that's really the name of the game.
And I think when this also kind of speaks to the getting self-directed, because all of these vehicles talk to each other. All of these tools talk to each other. You use velocity banking to find and create and generate cash flow. Well, when you generate that cash flow, what do you do with it? Do you put it in your savings account? I think this is the challenge that Emma's running into, right? When you identify that cash flow, what should you do with it? Well, when you identify that cash flow, you need to put it in a vehicle that's going to make its own money. Should it be a high yield savings account? Should it be an IUL? Should it be MPI? What I'm about to walk you through is to show you that it should be MPI. Okay, so you put this cash flow into MPI, and now your money is making money. And that money that your money's making is making even more money. And so what is that putting you in a position to do? It's putting you in a position to now be able to make different decisions. You might be able to fire your job because now the income being produced inside of a vehicle like this, you're in a position now to replace your income with it. Or from a asset purchase perspective, hey, I'm in a position now where I'm ready to buy a home. Well, where do you normally go to get that lump sum to be able to put down to be able to buy that home? Well, you've got a secure compound interest account here that's building passively, and it allows you to leverage it to be able to use for anything that you want. So the purchase of that home, that all of it or some of that dollar amount can come from this secure compound interest account. And again, the concept of self-directed, all of these align. Whether we're talking about a self-directed IRA and a 401k, it's being able to leverage those vehicles, those tools to do what? To actually build secure compound interest accounts over time using some of the leverage, again, how you leverage it matters, but using the income that you're able to leverage from vehicles like that to be able to grow, build vehicles like this. So again, I think they all align, they all talk to include the first position home equity line of credit. What's the purpose of having a first position home equity line of credit? Well, it's to eliminate debt, similar to velocity banking. So it becomes a tool that you use to do velocity banking. So your home now becomes the line of credit. So you're using your home like a big credit card to eliminate debt. But what happens when all the debt is gone? You freed up cash flow. What do you do with all this equity sitting in this first position home equity line of credit? You take that equity that's sitting in that first position home equity line of credit and you dump it into a vehicle that can produce income for you while you sleep. And again, it goes back to the question that we're trying to answer today. Should that vehicle be a high yield savings account? Should that vehicle be a basic IUL? Or should that vehicle be a secure compound interest account in the form of MPI? So again, all of them talk. So I love that question because there's so many layers to it. And I think you're thinking about this the right way, though. The idea is, where's the cash flow? How much cash flow do I have? And is my cash flow working for me? Is my money making its own money?
Yep.
So go ahead.
No, I was agreeing.
Okay. And so, again, I just wanted to highlight the differences between an IUL and MPI just one last time. Again, you've seen this before. Taking out the lump sum of $50,000, putting away $500 a month is $6,000 a year. So over that 20-year period of putting away $6,000 a year, by year 20, she would have accumulated $120,000 inside that IUL. Well, you remember the limits of 2% to 9%. Well, if you look at the average performance of the S&P 500 over time, that average growth is right around 7%. So that 120,000 that has been contributed by Emma is growing on average 7%, which is how that dollar amount of whatever 467,000 or whatever that a dollar amount was accumulated. Well, if you look at MPI the same way, it's the same $500 a month being contributed over the same period of time. It's the same 120,000. But something special happens at year 3 that does not happen inside of an IUL. That special event is because you've contributed to this product over the last 2 years, that dollar amount that was contributed at year 1 can be leveraged at year 3 to add an additional lever for you to pull inside this product. And then at year 4, you're going to leverage the same 6,000. At year 5, something special happens. Instead of only leveraging 6,000, you're going to leverage 6,000 plus 6,000. So a total of 12,000 at year 5. And then at year 7, you're going to level 3 times that. At year 9, you're going to level 4 times that. At year 11, year 11, you're going to leverage 5 times that, and so on, and so on. And that growth, that leverage ends up accumulating to a point where you're leveraged about $540,000. You've put in 120, but this is pretty messy. Get rid of that. So you've put in 120,000 and you've leveraged 540,000. And again, your 120 is still making 7%. It's the exact same 7% that was over here. It's not different. This 540 is also making 7%. But there was a cost to borrow. You leveraged this money from the relock perspective. There was a cost to borrow this money. That cost was 4%. So if it cost you 4% to borrow 540,000, but you made 7, that remaining 3% is yours. So the difference between these two products is this product is only making whatever that growth is inside of the S&P 500. Whereas over here, you're making that growth, that same growth, plus this leveraged money you're making money on as well. And what that looks like over time, is you have the ability in year 3 to make your 7% plus an additional 3% on someone else's money. By year 5, you're making 3% twice. By year 7, again, you're making 3% 3 times, and it becomes infinite. There's no limit to how much leverage you can use inside this product. And because there's no limit, that means the growth is unlimited. Even though the hybrid account has I'll call it bookends of 2 and 9%, there's a limit to how much you can grow. Inside this product, because of the leverage, and you're able to leverage every year, there's no limitation on how much you can leverage. That means the growth inside of this account is also unlimited. Secure, uninterrupted compound interest will outperform limited compound interest all day long. An account with leverage compared to an account without leverage will outperform an account with no leverage all day long. This is how millionaires become millionaires. They use other people's money at a low interest rate and they create an arbitrage situation. That's exactly what's happening here. This is not hard. It is not scientific. It is just math. Got a question?
Yes. Let me turn my microphone on so I can ask it. Marcello says, what does leverage equal in layman's terms? Can you break that down a little bit?
Yep. So leverage. The story I normally tell around leverage is related to Donald Trump. Most people know how Donald Trump made his money. He didn't make his money because he's a savvy businessman. He made his money because his dad loaned him. And again, I don't know the exact dollar amount, but the story goes his dad loaned him $1 million. And I did say loan, which means that $1 million was not free. And when his dad loaned him that $1 million, what did he do with that $1 million? He took that $1 million and he bought an apartment complex. And I don't know these exact numbers, but I'm going to make up some. If his dad loaned him that $1 million at 4%, and he took that $1 million, meaning he had no money of his own in this project. He took the $1 million that he borrowed from his dad at 4% and turned right around and took that $1 million and bought an apartment complex that yield 10%. So I took money that I didn't have in my pocket. I took the same money that was given to me and I leveraged it. I leveraged that $1 million and bought this apartment complex that's yielding 10%. When I make that 10%, I give my dad the 4% that I owe him. I get to keep 6%. That leverage has now, and it's called arbitrage, meaning it cost me 4% to borrow. I made 10. That difference is arbitrage. That arbitrage is what I get to keep. I leverage someone else's money to produce a higher rate of return. And that difference between the rate of return that I'm now making compared to my cost, my opportunity cost, my cost of borrowing that money, that 4%, I get to keep. And this is what banks do all day long. They give you 0.02% in your savings account. And then you need to go buy a car. You go to the dealership, pick out the car, and now you got to get bank financing. And you go get bank financing and you get that loan for $30,000 at 5%. Your $30,000 is making 0.02%, but they just loaned it back to you at 5%. They're making a spread. And that arbitrage, that spread that they're making, they are leveraging your money to lend it back to you so that you can go buy this car. All we're talking about here is doing exactly what the banks have been doing since the start of time. Does that help?
Yeah. Well, we have there's like a little bit of a delay, so we have to wait to see if he needs any clarification. If anyone else has any questions, now is the time to put them in, of course. Watching live is the best time to ask questions, but
Absolutely.
we also have tons of people who ask us questions afterwards, especially on the replay in the comment section, and we try to keep an eye out for that as well. So I do have a question though, in the meantime. How do you know when you're talking to somebody who is representing the IUL strategy? Because there are a lot of people talking about this now, especially on like TikTok and all over the place. Lots of people doing content and helping to educate people that this is out there and this is available. It is a strategy that you can implement, right? How do you know if they're saying, oh, MPI is just an IUL? And I can do the exact same thing. It's a max funded option B. I can do the
IUL.
exact.
Absolutely.
I can do the exact same thing. And what they're saying is, oh, it's the same as a hybrid, right?
Right.
Whatever name you want to put on it. How do you know that when you're talking to somebody? Because that's kind of the nature of all this is you hear so many different things out there. How do you know what you're hearing and how do you know what questions to ask to make sure that you can use discernment and go, okay, is this the type of thing that I'm looking for? Yeah. Are these terms something that I understand that helps me reach my goal? Is there something in here that I just don't know what I don't know to be able to identify to see how this could impact my growth? Moving forward, and how my time may not be utilized or may not be maximized in my compound cycles, right? However many I have left, which I hope that you show them that too, because I think that that's kind of an eye opener of like, we talk about all these other assets out here. Time is our biggest asset. I say that all the time. So that, how do people know what the difference is between an IUL, hybrid, MPI, whatever they are? What is it that they should be looking for?
So I think you highlighted it very well when you started. Like, it starts with, is it a max funded policy? Meaning, am I purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible? When I have, because a lot of people send me their illustrations. They send me hey, this is what I currently have. Is this a good product or not? I usually, when before they send it to me, the first question I ask is it max funded? Most people don't know what that means. What that means is, in essence, you should be purchasing the least amount of life insurance legally possible. Because the less life insurance you buy, the less expense to you. The less expense to you, the more opportunity you have for your money to grow. And then once I have that illustration, the next question is, when do you break even? And I've said this many times on many lives, and there's many videos of me talking about it. But if I take $1 and I take that dollar and I put it in this product, IUL, MPI, hybrid, high yield savings account, whatever. When I put that dollar in, at what point do I have the same dollar working for me? Because I'm no dummy. I understand that there's going to be fees involved. So if I put $1 inside my IUL today, does that mean that tomorrow I have $1 working for me? 9 times out of 10, the answer is no, because there's going to be fees associated with that product. And okay, I can wrap my head around that. Well, at what point do I break even? Is it year 2, year 3, year 5, year 10? At what point again, if it's 10 years, I would have put in $10. Do I have $10 working for me? At least. And in most poorly designed products, that break-even point is somewhere around year 10, 11, or 12. And it's consistent. I don't care if we're talking about whole life policies, variable life policies, or index universal life policy. Doesn't matter. A poorly designed policy traditionally breaks even somewhere after year 10. A properly designed policy should break even somewhere around year 5. And so I think it also starts there. So again, it's max funded. When do you break even? And then I talk a lot about option B versus option A. This is a life insurance term. I don't expect most people to understand whether they should ask for an option A or an option B policy, but it's very simple. Option B is just saying, as I put money inside this product, does my death benefit stay the same or does it increase? If you're just buying life insurance to be buying life insurance, I am confident you're buying an option A policy. Why? Because when you're putting in your $300 a month, $70 a month, $300 a month, whatever that amount is, I don't care how many years you've put away $500 a month. 500 times 12 is 6,000. 6,000 times 10 is 60,000. 60,000 times 20 years is 120. 6,000 times 20 years is $120,000. If you've put in $120,000 into a life insurance product, did your death benefit increase or did it stay the same? In an option A policy, regardless of how much of a death benefit you're getting, meaning let's say that $500 a month is buying you a $300,000 life insurance policy. You've put in 120. At the end of 20 years, if you pass away, your beneficiaries get $300,000. What did the life insurance company do with that $120,000 over that 20-year period while you were alive? You know the life insurance company compounded that money. You know the life insurance company made money off that 120. Matter of fact, the actuaries did the math to say, I believe this person is going to live well beyond 20 years. So therefore, I believe we're going to make our money back tenfold. So absolutely, we'll give them this $300,000 life insurance policy for $500 a month. No problem. That's a no-brainer. That's what most of us buy in an option A policy. An option B policy says this. As you're putting in that same $500 a month, 60 over 10, 120 over 20 years, my death benefit increases as my cash value increases. And that cash value that increases inside this product, I get to use while I'm living. I get to use that cash value for income. I get to leverage that cash value to buy properties, do infinite banking. I get to leverage that cash value to create this arbitrage situation so that my account grows faster. That cash value that's growing isn't just going to the life insurance company, it's coming to me. I get to use it. And in addition, in 20 years when I pass, instead of my beneficiaries only receiving the $300,000 that I had initially purchased with that $500 a month, my beneficiaries received that $300,000 plus all of the growth on my money. Which is better? An option A or an option B?
Yeah. He wants to know, he said, thank you for the analogy. However, can you describe what you meant by leverage in the presentation you gave a moment ago? So I think it's just walk back through how you're leveraging on the second column. I think it's what he's asking specifically.
Yep, I think I got it. Let me preface this. I've been waiting for this question. I've been showing this visual a long time. And what it sounds like is this community is becoming more educated. And so what we really need to do is break down how money grows inside of MPI, because this is a very general and very high level. But I'm a man who loves to dig into the details. So how about we set up the next live to kind of detail how money actually grows inside of MPI. And I think that will further explain where this word leverage is even coming from. Because what I am saying is, when I use the word leverage, is you are borrowing money from the life insurance company, and that money that you're borrowing from the life insurance company is being added back into your account. And when you borrow that money from the life insurance company, there's a cost to it. And the key is that cost to borrow that money from the life insurance company is less than the amount that's actually being made, which creates an arbitrage position. Again, a lot of words, but I think there's a way to better kind of detail that. I'll do some of it here, but I think what is truly deserved is, let's kind of peel back the layers and kind of really dig into how. And so I think what I can commit to is, on our next live, we will walk through an example where I will just simply break down that relock feature and how it came about and how it's actually used as leverage inside the account. But in this case, so in year one, you would have put in at $500 a month, which again is $6,000 a year. The commitment to the life insurance company is this: you have to fully fund your account for the first 2 years. So $500 a month, $6,000 a year in year one, $5,000 a month, $6,000 that year in year two. So you've put in a total of $12,000. As a result of accomplishing this task, the life insurance company says this: we will allow you to now leverage. Leverage is just a fancy word for saying borrow. We will now allow you to borrow, take the participating loan. If you understand cash value life insurance products, we will allow you to borrow everything from year one. So it's now year three. Because you've met your obligations in years one and year two, we will now allow you to borrow everything from year one. So, okay, how much was in year one? Well, you had $6,000 in year one, so you're now going to borrow $6,000 from the life insurance company at year three. And again, I did say borrow. Borrow means there's going to be a cost associated with that. What's that cost? In this case, it costs 4%. So to borrow $6,000 from the life insurance company, it's at a cost of 4%. So in year three, you would put in, by year three rather, you would put in 6,000 in year one, 6,000 in year two, 6,000 in year three. So in total, you would have put in 18,000 by year three, plus an additional 6,000 from the life insurance company. So in total, it looks like you put in 24,000, but in actuality, you put in 18,000 of your money and you're borrowing 6,000 from the life insurance company. When we run through this is where we have to explain how an IUL works. When you run through the process of how an IUL makes its money, meaning there's growth inside of the general fund that we use that growth to then buy a one-time call option in the S&P 500 index. If you look at the average growth inside of the S&P 500 index, that average growth is right around 7%. So at year three, your 18,000 makes on average 7%. The 6,000 that we borrowed makes on average 7%. You get to keep the 7% growth on your 18, but I did say there was a cost to borrowing that 6,000. So you made 7% on the 6,000. If it cost you 4 to borrow it, when you pay back that 4% that you owed back to the life insurance company, you keep the remainder. That remainder is 3%. So in essence, at year three, your 18,000 made 7%. And you made 3% on someone else's money. It's called OPM. You made 3% on other people's money. And in this case specifically, you made 3% on $6,000. So at year three is where we start to separate ourselves from traditional IULs. How much money was made in a traditional IUL? In a traditional IUL at year three, you made 7%. In a MPI strategy, premium finance strategy, how much money did you make at year three? You made 7% plus 3% on someone else's money. At year four, you do the exact same thing again. But in year five, something special happens. At year five, because you met that obligation, again, remember the obligation from the life insurance company was you have to fully fund your policy for 2 years. fully funded, fully funded. So I'm able to borrow 6,000. Well, at year 5, guess what happened? You just fully funded your policy again. So because you fully funded your policy for 2 years again, not only do you get to borrow 6,000 from year 1, but you also now get to borrow another 6,000 based off the leverage that you just added. So now at year 5, instead of only borrowing 6,000 from the life insurance company, you're now able to borrow 12. And this process starts to exponentially get bigger to the point where the amount of money you've leveraged ends up being more than the amount that you've contributed. And let's do some simple math. 7% on 120,000, is that more or less than 3% of 540,000? And again, it's just math. 3% of 540,000 is far more than 7% on 120,000. So the growth of your account starts to exponentially take off because you're adding more and more leverage to it. Again, a lot of words, but I think in order to do this example justice, or to do this pictorial justice, I think there's a slower paced way to kind of break down how money grows. And I think that's what I'll commit to doing next week, if that makes sense. So I appreciate the question. Hopefully that helped though.
Yes, he said thank you. And so I do think that am I on?
You are now.
Okay. I think that cleared up his question. If anybody else has questions, now's a great time. There's a few questions that I had, but because we're like at an hour and a half now, I know that I can certainly hold off, or I can shoot them your way.
So here's what I know. If there's questions coming from people, I definitely want those. But if there are questions that you think the audience needs to hear, I think when we break down an IUL, I think those same questions that you have now will still apply. So I think you can also save them for when we truly break down an IUL.
Yeah,
or truly
okay.
break down MPI, I mean.
Yeah, I agree with that. Some of them are really just in terms of the high yield savings account, though, because that's where we started tonight. And how it, if somebody's here because they're in their velocity banking strategy and they're looking for a vehicle that can help them kind of springboard or help them grow their money while they're crushing debt, what is the best vehicle to help them do that? Because I think the misconception is, or their confidence is in the concept of a savings account being where they would have access to their money for things to come in and flow out. Oh, we do have a comment coming in. So I would want to know, what would you suggest for somebody who's in their velocity banking journey, who's looking to supercharge that initiative?
When I meet with people who are interested or wanting to do velocity banking, it's not just them. I guess this is anyone that I talk to. I ask the exact same question of everyone. What is your goal? A lot of people do velocity banking without a goal in mind, and which also makes doing velocity banking pretty difficult. So as it relates to velocity banking, it starts with, what is your goal? Is your goal just to eliminate debt? And that's okay. That's not a bad goal to have. But my argument is this: if the purpose of doing velocity banking is to free up money, free up cash flow, then what are you doing with it? And again, most people who are doing velocity banking have gotten themselves into a situation where their debt is a bit out of control. To me, allowing that money to sit stagnant doing nothing is creating a situation to get yourself back into a position where things are out of control. So if you understand the goal at hand at the start, and if that goal is, I want to get my money working for me. Not only do I want to eliminate debt, I want to put myself into a more cash flow positive situation so that I can put that money in a place where my money's starting to make me money. Okay. Then what kind of vehicle should that be? Should it be a high yield savings account? Well, if you have no other choice, meaning you don't qualify for life insurance, should a high yield savings account be that vehicle? My argument would still be no. Now, is a high yield savings account better than your traditional savings account? 100%. So if you want to place that money there temporarily before you identify what that right vehicle would be, by all means, please do so. But a high yield savings account is not going to get you your WTF moment. Your ability to generate wealth, your ability to control your time, and to put yourself in a position where you have true true freedom to be able to do what you want to do with who you want to do it. A high yield savings account will not get you there. Why? Because it won't generate the income necessary for you to be able to replace your W-2 job. So what are those other vehicles? You've got traditional retirement planning, you've got secure compound interest accounts, and you got real estate. Like, there's many different vehicles out there. Me being a person who, I say this all the time, I'm lazy. I like for my money to make its own money, and I like to sleep well at night knowing that it's doing it. I don't want to have to babysit. I don't want to know about tenants, toilets, and trash. So from a perspective of getting a vehicle that will allow you to put your money away and just sleep well at night knowing that it's doing its job, that is a secure compound interest account in the form of MPI. Is there a question?
Oh. Yeah, Carlos is wanting to know, when exactly next week is your next live?
So normally we go on Sundays, Wednesdays and Sundays. And I know the date has been somewhat fluid, but our next live would be Sunday of this week. Unless my producer tells me different. But as of right now, we're going live Sunday. And even if you don't catch it live, obviously we'll have it on replay. But we're going Sunday, live on Sunday, and what's at 6 p.m. PST, which would be 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central.
Yep, that's it. And I do just want to say that I think, knowing what your options are is so powerful. And I really appreciate some of the questions that we've had here today, because it really shows that people are willing to ask those questions, even if they feel uncomfortable, just to say, no, that's not what I asked. I need this clarified because I need to know this is important for me. And so I appreciate all of you who've asked questions, anybody who's asking questions, whether if it's here live or in the replay. We also were trying to set up, and we had a few set up in the comments, if you guys want to jump on and do a live call with us here live so that we can all learn. We would love that. So there is a way that you can go get not only the free resources that we've talked about tonight, the video series that explains everything about a secure compound interest account, specifically MPI and how it functions, all of those details, get down into the details. There's also 2 free books. One of them happens to be a book called Everybody Ends Up Poor. And it talks about why, no matter how much time or how much trust or how much faith you put into these traditional retirement vehicles, at the end, this is why people are downsizing. This is why people end up with enough. They don't find out until the very end. Sad that this is still how things are functioning, but it's true. And I like to say these traditional retirement vehicles were designed by the same people who thought that meat and Jello should go together. Like they just don't apply to today, and they don't fit our world and how we are, the economy, inflation. There are so many factors that have just changed significantly since these systems were built. And these books will explain not only why everyone ends up poor, but also better break down the lost science of compound interest. And I love what you say about compound interest. You want to, you say it.
What is that? Your money making money, and the money that your money makes more money?
When we say compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world, that's Albert Einstein.
And actually, there's that's actually misquoted because it starts with Albert Einstein, right? There's this quote that says Albert Einstein was the one who stated compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And he actually said compounding is the 8th wonder of the world. But let's just ride with it. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. And he who understands it earns it. It's kind of how the quote goes. Well, my quote is, if you don't understand compound interest, I guarantee you someone is making compound interest off you. And if you don't believe me, step into your favorite bank.
Yeah. Well, today's been a powerful live stream breaking down, and I think you said it quite well at the beginning, just learning that how the banks are able to leverage us, and that how we can start to become our own banks and leverage the vehicles and the opportunities that the banks are out here competing for our business and our attention at this point, and how we can use them the way that they've been using us. We can flip the tables, we can become our own bank, and we can actually secure our future financially anyway, and making sure that we have the best chances of not just surviving, not just thriving, but being able to leverage it along the way too, so that we are not trapped or imprisoned by what we think is going to be a future opportunity, which is traditionally what most people have had to do. So I really have enjoyed just looking at these examples that we did today for Emma. So if you are just joining us right now, the replay will be up soon. Those resources are coming up, so we will tell you how to get them. I don't see any more comments coming in, but we'll just give just a couple more minutes here for any last ones to roll in. There's like a 7-second delay, so we'll just give them a second. Anything else that you want to throw
only
in?
the summary, me and my summary slide.
Oh,
I think that's the
yeah.
only thing missing. I don't think you need to bring it up. I think the moral of the story here is whether it's a high yield savings account, an IUL or MPI, what is the difference? And I know that's kind of small, kind of difficult to read, but the moral of the story is a high yield savings account or an IUL, they're good. If you have no other choice, okay, I get it. But if the goal is to produce income, again, it's about the goal. If the goal is to produce income, there are vehicles out there that can do much better. And what I have next to that MPI is, okay, what would happen if you took that same $50,000 plus $500 a month and put it inside of a 401k or an IRA? Because I think that I haven't heard that comment tonight, but usually that's what comes next, right? Yeah, I get these secure compound interest accounts, but what about my company's 401k with the match, whatever the case may be? The problem with those vehicles are they were never designed to produce income. Again, what's the goal? Is the goal net worth? Is the goal so that you can say, hey, I've got $1 million. If the goal is to say you have $1 million, get a Roth IRA. But if the goal is to say that $1 million is producing me $150,000 tax-free income, then you probably need a secure compound interest account, because that $1 million inside of a Roth IRA is going to produce you 40 grand.
That's it. Okay, so now I think the best thing that we can do is show you how. So there's been some questions like, how do I apply? How do I see if I qualify for a secure compound interest account? How do I get started? And how can I learn more so that I can make a confident, educated decision about whether or not this is a good strategy for me? And we have that answer, and that's coming up. So I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell. Get self-directed.
And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stand by and I'll tell you how to get them. Thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get
self-directed.